It's been fast and furious stuff at the Millions Germany Supr High Roller. A €50,000 buy-in and 47 entries has created a prize pool north of €2 million and payouts for the top 6. After Patrick Antonius bubbled in 7th, Dietrich Fast pocketed a cool €130,000 for finishing in 6th. Felipe Ramos in 5th made €180,000, whilst Tobias Ziegler recorded the biggest cash finish of his young career, taking €260,000 for 4th. Canada's Timothy Adams is no stranger to Supr High Roller events, but even by his standards, the €362,000 he took home for a 3rd was a very sweet payday indeed. Now, just 2 remain. Italy's Mustapha Kanit is no stranger to the high roller final tables, but he'll need to draw heavily on his experience here in Rozvadov, as chip leader Michael Zhang has him covered by 2-1. But in heads-up poker, anything can happen.
We are heads up here in Rozvadov for the Party Poker Live Million Supr High Roller event. I'm here with Michael Zhang, otherwise known as Chi.
Yes.
You are sitting pretty as a chip leader. This is a special moment for you. This is actually your first high roller final table.
Yes, it's all I ever dreamed of. I played these for the thrill of it, and it's finally happened. I haven't played many, but I'm blessed to be here.
That's so lovely. How are you feeling going into this final table?
I was
Heads
feeling fairly good heads up. I've had a fairly fortunate final. Nothing was too. Had one key flip and was short for the whole time, so it wasn't like I've always been building chips quite. But it's looking forward to heads up. Heads up is probably one of my favorite games. So
Lovely. Wishing you the very best. Thanks so much, Chi.
thank you very much.
Good luck.
Confirmation then of the chip counts. Michael Zhang with 30 million and some change to his name, just a little under double what Mustapha has in front of him.
It'll be interesting. I mean, he has to be the favourite, right, with such a commanding chip lead, but anything can happen. Those asking, obviously, I am James Demps in the commentary booth. Firming is Jack Sinclair with me, giving his insight.
Heads up, maestro.
Yeah, I'd say, obviously, your background in poker, obviously, most people become aware of you from your World Series of Poker run, but online, is that your speciality, heads up? Is that?
I played a decent amount of heads up online. I mean, if I was going to play cash, I would only ever play heads up. But I'm mostly a tournament player. Well, I'm entirely a tournament player. I used to be an online MTC player. Now I more or less only play live. But I think I'm better than your average bear at heads up.
Well, that's why you enter these things, to be confident in your game.
So Mustapha betting here with the ace high and backdoor flush draw, which I think is fine. You're going to have a good amount of turns to barrel, and you can't just check back all your ace highs on a board like this, because then if the king comes, if you bet and the king comes, you'd never have an ace. So.
And of course, Michael had a bottom pair and a gut shot to the low end, which he has now hit.
Yeah, so Michael's probably going to play this pretty cautiously and just try and check call down.
Right. Because Mustapha kind of has everything he could be dealt pre-flop, he would have played this way, right?
More or less. He'd probably check back the flop with some kings. Unless he's just decided that this board is, an auto c-bet, but I would be surprised if that was the case. As it is, Mustapha has a pretty good hand to bluff with for 3 streets. He has no spades, which is good. He has an ace, which is good, and no kicker. So yeah, I think given all that, I think Mustapha should probably be going for 3 barrels here.
And here
a
he
decent
goes.
chunk of the time. Barring very bad river cards.
And he's indeed firing a second bullet.
So there's not that many bad river cards for him. I guess for bluffing. I guess he's going to have a tough decision on spade and board pairs on the river.
Right.
So.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So this is one of those cards where Mustapha's probably just going to go all in. Hope that his opponent has has check called twice with 2 pairs. No.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, this is fair enough.
Obviously, Michael would play a king that same way as well, right? So.
So he had, I think he had a few more chips than I thought he did.
So you're playing someone like Mustapha, who's obviously a phenomenal player. Maybe you want to shadow the stacks a bit, we're raising a bit more and have him defend less.
Yeah. I mean, if you think you're worse than Mustapha,
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Yeah, if you're playing someone who is as quality as Mustapha, you maybe don't want to play as many flops.
If you're afraid of playing against Mustapha, I guess you like 3.5x your button and fold a load of hands would be a reasonable strategy. I mean, I probably wouldn't do that though.
No, I'm sure that's not the case. I'm sure Michael is very comfortable playing here.
Yeah, I mean, I know Mustapha's very good. I don't know, there's quite a lot of poker players that are extremely good right up until they get heads up, and then they sort of like haven't worked on their heads up game too much.
And here we have Mustapha raising up with ace deuce from the button, 725,000. Michael finding a 3-bet with the 5-6 off to 2.6 million.
So I think this has got, like, has it been half an hour since 5-3 off open? Possibly. Maybe he literally just got the text and I was like, oh, okay, I'll just 3-bet everything.
But he will win the pot and pushing Mustapha down to 36 big blinds. Of course, I feel heads-up play is below 30 big blinds a real mark. Once you're playing 30 bigs effective, things can go very quickly, right? There's more propensity for a 4-bet jam lighter than maybe say there would be if you're playing. A big stack's going to apply more pressure, right? If you're only playing 30 big blinds.
Yeah, once you're down to 30, like you're more vulnerable to 3-bets for sure because you can't really 4-bet fold.
Right. Yeah.
That being said, heads up. I believe they're not playing an ante now, right?
You're correct.
So you're a little bit deeper than, you sort of play, there's less money in the pot is what I'm trying to say. So you're actually your stacked pot ratio is a little bit larger. So 30 big blinds heads up is a little bit more than 30 big blinds 3-handed.
Sure. And here Michael's raised it up, 8-4 of diamonds. Found a pretty gin flop for his hand.
this is a big flop.
Mustapha
8-4 of diamonds.
Let's see with the second pair.
And I expect Mustapha to just check call here.
And he does. Jack knows his stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been making a lot of predictions, and I think I'm about like 40% or something.
Shh, some people have just tuned in.
Yeah, if you've just tuned in, my reads are on point at this point. But yeah, there's some merit to check raising this hand on the flop.
All right, similar to when Michael himself check raised on the Jack 6-4 flop, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't be so sure that Michael would check call with this hand after what I'd seen before. But I mean, this hand I think is just, it doesn't benefit too much from check raising.
Right. And Mustapha still continues in this spot, you think? Michael fires the second barrel.
Yeah, I mean, this hand's too strong to give up at this point. And he's still ahead for one thing.
Does reach down some chips. Makes the call. So this is a pretty big pot going now. 6.1 million already in there. Mustapha only has 10 million behind. And it is an offsuit ace.
Good check.
So this is an interesting spot for Michael. He's kind of got not a great hand to bluff with, but then he does also have 8 high. So
he does give up. And not a great hand to bluff with because he blocks straight draws and flush draws, right? So
yeah, I mean he's kind of blocking Mustapha's folding range there a lot. Also, the ace is kind of better for Mustapha's range than Michael's. He's probably not going to be betting twice with ace high very often.
Right, but Mustapha could be calling ace high.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, Mustapha's most likely aces are like going to be ace x of diamonds. So having the 8 and the 4 of diamonds is like somewhat good in terms of blocking, ace 8 of diamonds and ace 4 of diamonds specifically. But that's not a huge amount of hands. I mean, it's 2. So, that's not a huge consideration. That being said, I mean, I wouldn't have minded to just see a small bluff, on the river, just try and take him off, some sort of sticky overcards.
So Michael continues with 9 deuce. Mustapha with a pretty strong hand on this flop. Second pair and a queen kicker.
Yeah, pretty good pretty good hand to c-bet with as well for Michael. He's got the backdoor flush, the backdoor straight draw, and 9 high. So all signs point to bet.
And of course, the 9 being somewhat significant in blocking some of the hands and stuff I might continue with, right?
Yeah.
8, 9, 9, 10, that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
9, 5. I hate that feeling. You bet the flop with 9 high, you got no pair, no draw, and your opponent calls.
I mean, I don't mind it too much when you have the heart draw coming on the turn.
Like that heart draw.
Yeah. I mean, because this hand is just really easy to play. So you know you're going to get called sometimes. So, and you know exactly what you're going to do on almost every turn.
Right, he's not going to be in too many tough spots.
Yeah.
It's not like you're betting a 6 and do I continue betting?
Yeah, if the turn card comes a 7 or whatever, or a diamond, you just know your hand is a bad bluff. But if it comes a heart, you know your hand is a good bluff. So you don't really have any tough decisions on turns. So I don't mind that spot at all where you bet and they call and you have like a hand that's so easy to play.
And here it comes, a big sizing. 2.5 million in the pot. Michael has elected a bet 3.3 million. This puts Mustapha in a tough spot with this hand, right?
Yeah, this is tricky. Well, he's overbet, yeah?
Yeah, he's overbet, yeah.
Okay.
3.3 to 2.5.
Yeah, I kind of like the overbet on this kind of boards, you know, where there's just loads of stuff going on. But there's no like completed hand. And the jack doesn't interact too heavily with Mustapha's check call range. So, you know, all the draws are still draws here.
Right.
So Mustapha's, you know, only really strong hands are like sets of 6s and 7s, which are going to check raise the flop a lot. And then 2 pair, which is going to be, you know, jack 7, jack 6, and king jack, which also might check raise the flop a lot. So Mustapha has not a lot of very strong hands here and loads of strong draws. So it's a spot where you really want to overbet with your strong hands, and you can put a lot of hands in a lot of, you know, under a lot of pressure with your bluffs.
Especially when it's the backdoor flush draw, right? Because he's not blocking Mustapha, maybe flopping a flush draw
exactly.
himself.
That as well. So yeah, this is a really good spot to bet big, and I like it.
It does work. Nice play there by Michael.
Welcome back to the Party Poker Live Millions Germany Super High Roller Final Table. That's a lot of words, but possibly not a lot of play left in this one. We're heads up in Rosvedov. Just 2 remain.
There we go. Confirmation 800,000 for the winner, 500 for second. We had Timothy, Tobias, Felipe, and Dietrich bust out earlier today, following Patrick Antonius, our bubble boy. Know where these boys would have gone to, maybe out for drinks, watch the football, the spa, for food, who knows, all gearing up for the main event tomorrow.
750?
Right, 750.
So, button with Michael, which as we see means a raise. Mustapha finally finds a fold. So I hope you're writing these down, Jack.
Yeah,
you're piecing together his calling range.
I've always struggled with rag jacks. Rag jacks in the big blind. I don't know how to play them. Still trying to figure it out.
I like the fold.
Yeah, Mustapha seems to have figured that out as well.
And if Mustapha does it, it's probably right. So it's Mustapha's go to open up.
And presumably get 3-bet here.
And yep, Michael with a real hand.
Right, 725.
Mustapha has not a bad hand to continue with, right?
I'd be very surprised if Mustapha folded to a 3-bet in this spot. I think stacks are a bit too deep for an all-in here from Mustapha.
Right.
But he's not got a bad hand for it. It's 7-6 suited plays okay as an all-in. You know, it does well against the top of people's ranges because it's always live against
sure.
You know, ace king, ace queen, etc. And you know, does a decent job of cracking aces and such.
Always seems to when they've got it against me.
Right.
Okay, Mustapha has called, so we have 5.4 million in the pot.
But yeah, I mean, this hand is just like good enough that you can just call. And
Oh, wow. He has flopped a gut shot. Michael has one of the best flops you could see, Queen 5-3, top pair, top kicker. This could spell a bit of trouble for Mustapha, could it not?
yeah, he has. He's flopped something. It's not a great flop for his hand. It's like decent.
1,400,000.
And Michael with a very small bet, 1.4 million.
Yeah, in a normal situation, this isn't a bad hand to raise in a 3-bet pot. You know, like, you're not like ecstatic about your gutter.
Right.
You have dirty outs with anything, you know, a club coming. But that being said, like, you know, it's just a board where you're not really going to want to raise too much in general.
Right.
It's, you know,
There aren't many value hands you're raising on this board. That's what
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
getting at. So it's
Yeah.
hard when you're bluffing. You're hard to represent something. Okay. Well, we'll see an 8. So Mustapha improves to an open ender, and a second flush draw has appeared.
Yeah, tricky spot to play here for Mustapha. Pretty easy spot to play for Michael. I mean, I guess with the stacks as they are, like, kind of a good spot to even check raise all in for Michael.
Right.
Get, you know. I
Yeah.
mean,
In Michael's spot, obviously you're saying check raise is an option. If he is going to bet, what sort of bet size would you favour here? So
about 3.5, something like that. He's gone 3.7, right?
3,750,000.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's about right.
he has indeed. And is there any consideration for Mustapha maybe, you know, jamming here, or is that a little too thin?
It's certainly an option that he could take. The problem here is, like, Mustapha has just loads and loads of hands that he's gonna, loads of bluff hands here. That when he has no club and like no clubs or diamonds, I mean, this is a kind of low down in his draws.
Right.
You know, like, I mean, he can have the nut flush draw here. Two different nut flush draws. It's possible.
Right. So you'd rather use those, especially as they block good hands, having an ace in your hand as your bluffs than a 7 high.
Yeah, I'd be more inclined to. I mean, you can also have a combo draw. You know, a bunch of combo draws here. 4-6 diamonds, 6-7 of diamonds, and you know the maybe 9-10 of clubs, Jack-10 of clubs that call flop. So all of these hands are much better jams. It's kind of really ugly for him because this hand's like kind of it's really tough to fold this hand on the turn, but then it's also like not a very good.
He is reaching the trips. He has
That is a call.
called. So we have a huge pot going into the river. 15.7 million chips. Mustapha with only 9.6 back.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm probably inclined just to actually fold this hand on the turn. Although I know it's a bit nitty.
And the river is the 10 of clubs. Does not improve Mustapha. Michael here, you prefer a jam, a check call? What's his line? Does he think Mustapha has many flush draws when he calls the turn?
I mean, he does.
Michael going for max value, but Mustapha just has the 7 high. So Michael with a huge lead now. 37 million to Mustapha's 10 million.
Yeah, I mean, there's not too much value in shoving there. There's not that many hands that Mustapha can really call you with once the 10 of clubs comes out. I mean, you're basically just hoping to get called by King Queen.
Right. So you'd rather see him play that as a check then?
Yeah, I think the check is better in general. I mean, it does seem a lot like Mustapha's trying to get to showdown once he calls twice, though. You know, with a hand like Jacks or something where, you know, he didn't want to get it in pre-flop.
And he's just lost that last pot. He's lost a few in a row. Maybe he gets that feeling that I can't get anything right.
Yeah, it's tough when your opponent runs good heads up. I've never had it, but I've heard.
Okay, Michael there, 109 big blinds. Mustapha down to 25. He will need some help soon.
Yeah, I mean, still a decent amount of stack to play. 25 big blinds, you know.
Well, one double and he's right back in it. You can see the difference they're playing for. 300,000 euros. A winner walking away with 800, the trophy, the glory.
Side event champion.
And my respect.
But if let's say Mustapha and Michael had been playing at this stack size the whole time, and Mustapha had been 3-betting to less than all in, a bunch of times, and then suddenly he goes all in, it's a lot easier for Michael to put him on a hand like sevens, which benefits a lot from jamming.
Sure.
So when it's the first one, you want to just choose the one that's best for the hand.
Yeah. So Mustapha limping in, Michael raising up with the ace-8. Mustapha 10-8 of diamonds.
Mustapha is probably going to call here.
It looks like you are correct. That is why we have you in here.
Yep, there you go. Yeah, I mean, it's reasonable hand to shove, but the 10 is just really bad when you get called.
It flops quite well. Not this time, though. The 7-5 deuce, 2 spades, neither player with anything. Michael, the first action. Is that a good flop for Michael? Because he doesn't see Mustapha limp calling with many 5s or 7s?
It's a sort of mediocre board for both players. It's hard to hit this board in general. So, and the limp call range is going to be, I mean, neither of these guys have much 2-pair in this spot.
Right.
And so you can sort of just bet a lot of hands, but especially with the 8 in your hand, it becomes a better c-bet.
Right, as we alluded to earlier, you're blocking draws. You're blocking the opponent having 6-8 or 8-9, right? So
yeah, partially that, and also that you turn a lot more draws. If you have ace-10 here, you can't really turn any draws. So you're much happier to bet an 8 here where you can turn a few draws. If you have ace-10, you're much more likely to check as well because you have more showdown.
Right, it looks like he's reaching for chips. Michael has c-bet, and there is a raise.
Yeah, Mustapha, trusting the reads.
3.3 million. Have some of that.
Playing with the flow. He's put in a third of his stack.
Like 10 million to start?
I start with 10, yeah.
Michael, surely impossible to proceed here.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be pretty sweet. Pretty sweet read.
All in?
There it is. Love it.
Wow, this is some poker.
Good deal.
That is some serious poker.
Well, whilst Michael pulls in that pot, we are going to take a short break. When we come back, we will have continued coverage of this heads-up duel between these two heavyweights here at the Party Poker Live, Millions, Germany. Welcome back to the King's Casino Rosvadov and heads-up action in this, the Supr High Roller event. It's Mustapha Kanit versus Michael Zhang for the prestige, the title, and of course the 800,000 euros first prize. And Michael has a 5-1 chip advantage.
Exciting stuff. Mustapha raising up, Jack 8. No, not raising up, pardon me, limping in with Jack 8, of course. Michael checking with now a 40 million to 7 million lead. And
yeah, that's a
this could see some action. Mustapha top pair of gut shot. Michael gut shot straight flush draw. See the equities there running pretty close, 56% to 43.
Yeah, I imagine this is going to go probably bet raise.
And obviously too big a hand for Mustapha to lay down at this stage, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Bet call. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this hand is obviously strong enough to check call, but 6 high, kind of a crap hand.
Yeah.
In terms of showdown ability, it's pretty bad. And I don't know what you do here. I mean, well, yeah, betting out is.
500?
This makes a lot of sense. I mean, you're going to have a lot of 9s in your check call range, and you can't really check call with this hand on the turn.
So Mustapha, you think we'll just call here?
I don't know what to think.
Small bet. 500 into 1.4.
I mean, the problem for Mustapha here is that Michael's basically saying I have a 9 or I don't have a hand.
Right.
He can have a draw, obviously, but he's basically just repping a 9. So Mustapha, while he would like to raise the small bet, to protect, he's kind of like only getting called by better hands.
Sure, yeah. It would be purely for protection, and then there aren't that many bad cards. Although this is somewhat of a bad card, I think, an overcard. And Michael had some sort of straight draw, but Michael has 6 high, Mustapha has a jack, and will win the pot. A much needed pot.
So I like the lead by Michael. He sort of bought himself a river. You know, he got to see whether he made it or not before playing the river.
200, 400.
2-4.
The blinds are up 200, 400. Just as Mustapha got a few chips, we moved the blinds on him.
Yep.
And he's back to
That's always nice.
23, 24 bigs again.
Yeah, if they're a bit shorter on that flop, I think Michael would
9
just
roughly?
check raise all in.
9?
And, you know, a bit deeper, maybe you can check raise.
8.6, I believe.
Thank you.
5, 6, 7.5.
Check raise and not face an all in all the time. But when you have to check raise call off at that stack depth, it's kind
with 6 high, it feels a bit grim.
it's pretty ugly, yeah. And you feel like a bit of a donkey check raising all in for like, you know, 8 million into a pot of 2.
So Michael limping in this time 10-8. Mustapha with jack 7 in the same suit, and there is a heart. There's another heart.
Oh baby.
This could be a fun one.
7 bet, 400.
A min bet from Michael.
Now, yeah, on the low paired boards, it's kind of an interesting spot. Mustapha's going to get called a lot if he check raises here. But then he could just check raise for value and call off a jam. You know, he's going to be ahead sometimes.
Right.
You know, he's going to be dominating sometimes, and he's got good enough equity to get it in against, you know,
2 raise.
a load of
So
hands.
right, he has done exactly that. I think Michael more like to call here than anything, and maybe if he was going to make a move, make it on the turn, or can you see him raising here?
I think both options are fine here for Michael. Call or jam. I think I slightly prefer shove.
He does cool.
But, you know, I'm cool with that too.
Yeah, that's a bit of an action killer.
Yeah, neither player happy with this card.
Not what the fans wanted to see.
Mustapha hates it because it's a really bad card to bluff on.
Right.
And, you know, because now his equity, if he gets called, is just really bad. And there's not a lot of hands that are going to fold now. Surprised Michael doesn't bet this turn card. But I guess he's got a good hand to bluff the river with if it goes check.
But he knew the river was going to be a 10.
He also can hit a 10, which is great. Now Mustapha's in a really ugly spot.
2 check.
Right, but it's really hard to bluff. As much as he knows he can't really win this pot, right? And he'll be disgusted, I think, when he sees sees the situation he was in.
Yeah, I'm also somewhat surprised Michael didn't consider value betting the 10 on the river there.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Once Mustapha checks, I mean, you have the best hand a really, really high percentage of the time.
Yeah, that was kind of a fun hand.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the value bet on the river is really thin, and you know, I mean, he might have a better grasp of what Michael's likely to call with, and he might also think that Michael's never check raising as a bluff,
7 call.
which makes it easier to value bet.
Check.
Right.
But I don't think that's true. I think,
But yeah, I mean, I was going to ask, is he might not check raise a bluff, but he can still be check raising with hands, right? So
well, it doesn't matter if Michael check raises with a better hand, it doesn't matter. You know,
No, what I mean is if there aren't that many hands Mustapha can get called by that are worse than his, but there are hands that he's going to bet into and get raised by, then is it a losing bet overall?
well, yeah. I mean, when you value bet, you need to be called 50% of the time. Well, more than 50% of the time, you have to be good when they call. And I don't know if that's true there. Like, yeah, he can get called by worse, but can he get called by worse 50% of the time or more? And I think it's unlikely.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that assessment.
Just when you add in the fact that he'll be checking some really strong hands, and he has the option to check raise as a bluff, both of these things hurt your value bet significantly.
It's another little nice value bet. Betting Leon's hand. Well, as you watching the cash game the other day, Leon was doing everything he could to win a pot with deuce 3. Ooh, saucy.
Raise.
Yeah, and this is the problem. Well, thanks for illustrating my point there, Michael. That, yeah, when you value bet thin and your opponent can check raise bluff, it really hurts your EV. What happened on the flop and turn here, and pre-flop?
We got 1.8 in there, so it would have been a limp pot by the looks of it.
What
No,
Mustapha
it's been checked all the way down, yeah. Sorry.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's been checked all the way down, Mustapha, but
Yeah.
bet minimum on the river, one big.
Yeah. Okay, this makes sense.
And Michael has decided to spring the trap with Queen High.
Yeah, super interesting spot for Mustapha here.
Yeah, what are the value hands that are raising him on the river?
Well, Michael's basically trying to say that he's either got a flush or he's going thin with an 8. Yeah, so Mustapha really needs to decide. Like, if he's only losing to a flush and his opponent could be bluffing, then he's probably got a decent price to call here. Mustapha doesn't have that many better hands either.
He's reaching.
Also, Michael looks pretty shifty there. So
Live reads, and it's a
oh,
raise.
he's gone back
Save.
over the top.
That was option number 3. 4.3 million.
4.3.
This, I mean, I'm not too happy with this. I mean, I guess, so if you think your opponent isn't going to thin raise an 8, then you
Right.
can just call.
Your hand plays fine against his bluffs. You got your beat, and then
Yeah, you beat his bluffs and you only lose to a flush. But then, if he is thin raising an 8, then the raise becomes. I mean, I guess this is what Mustapha's thinking. You're thinking, well, this guy's basically saying he has an 8 that he's raising, and there's no way he can call a 3-bet here.
anyway he could have an ace. I wouldn't limp on the button, I guess, with the stack sizes the way they are. Limps in.
2 call.
Jack 8, Michael checks his option with King 3.
Six check.
Somewhat interesting decision for Mustapha there. Good board to bet
Right.
with your limping range against a big blind check. And your hand has some backdoor stuff going on. Michael value betting, I guess? I don't really...
Is this one of these bets maybe he's probably thinks it's the best hand, probably doesn't get called too often, but it's just protecting and saving himself from getting bluffed,
Yeah.
or how do you see it?
Yeah, I think it's a fine idea. This stuff, Ray, cool.
He's found a way to get called by worse.
Yeah, okay, so good value bet. Correction, bad value bet. There's the 8. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of this
check.
play. You know,
This is a pretty clear value bet for Mustapha, right? And
Yeah,
Michael checks
I think-
over to him.
unless he's misread his hand, but
He does it one time, you will let it go.
yeah, I said I wasn't going to make fun of him for it, but I just can't help myself. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to call the turn with Jack 8 and then hit the 8,
Got 1,000,005.
pretty hard not to value bet it here. Especially when Michael... I mean, it's unlikely that Michael's going to check many stronger hands here.
Yeah.
I mean, Mustapha's kind of repping like he has you know, some sort of weak showdown hand.
And
By calling
he
the turn.
does get
And
called.
call. Shut down, please.
And Michael's going to be like, wait, hang on, what?
Wait, Jack, what?
6-4. Thank you.
This is fascinating stuff. Poker at the highest level. 50k Supr High Roller final table.
$1 million.
1 million.
Michael raising up Mustapha with a real hand.
Now this one's got to be all in, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't take the ace-8 off, so I don't know what to believe these days, but I mean, this hand is like a slam dunk.
Yeah, 23 big blinds.
There he goes. And I imagine he's going to call.
11 and a half? 11 and a half, 12, yeah. 11 and a half.
Chip count?
It's okay. I can see.
This is fairly close, right?
I think it's a call. Yeah.
And he has indeed called. So Mustapha at risk. Michael 5 cards away from winning the Supr High Roller. Classic queen flip. Couldn't be any more. 50-50.
Spot on.
Of course, if Mustapha were to double up here, it would be very even.
Who are you rooting for?
I am rooting for nobody.
Okay.
A 4
Ooh.
deuce flop, 2
Ooh-wee.
hearts. So Michael has missed, but he's also kind of hit, staying pretty much at 50-50. He will need a king, a 10, or a heart to eliminate Mustapha and win this tournament. Mustapha, yeah, it's not a bad flop.
Well, at least you can't get counterfeit.
There is an ace. Mustapha looking a lot nicer now. So, king, 10, or heart. Otherwise, Mustapha will double up and we will go back to even stacks in this heads-up match. They're both players feeling the pain. Here it comes.
Hey.
It is a brick. Mustapha will double up. The players are now pretty even.
More action.
Michael's shot at glory, or first shot at glory, has gone by.
11-8.
I have to say, I do enjoy watching the players' faces in those spots. So much riding on the turn of a card.
7.5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 7, 11, 8.
There you go. 47 big blinds plays 47 big blinds.
Wow. There you go.
Stay tuned. This one could go a while.
You love that when you're playing heads up and you're just winning, grinding them down, finally get them. And
They win a couple of pots and they double back up and it's all square.
And it's, yep, grind them down for like an hour and a half and then boom, even stacks.
So after 48 hands of heads-up action, the stacks are all but even. It's a funny old game, and it reaches its climax after this break. Welcome back to the Party Poker Live Millions Germany Supr High Roller final table, where Mustapha Kanit has just doubled up, meaning we have the 2 players on near identical stacks. Mustapha with 23.6, Michael with 23.4.
So certainly different. Emotionally, Mustapha will feel a lot happier coming into this new stage, right?
Yeah.
Michael will be ruining. He'll be thinking about a hand for a few minutes. Could have easily won the tournament right there and then in a flip.
I think you typically, well, I mean, in my experience, you forget about it pretty quickly, to be honest. Like, especially when you're playing heads up. Like, if you're playing full ring and you lose a big pot, then you got some time to stew, you know.
Right.
Like,
While the players are playing hands, you're just thinking about it. In this, you're just constantly in action. So
yeah, you've got to think about the next board. You know, when I played Tony G heads up here, we had about, I think it was 3 or 4 all-ins and calls, you know, for the title, and before we finally ended it. And you know, I don't remember, you know, thinking about them for very long afterwards.
Right.
You know.
See that? The mindset of the top pros. Don't stew. So that hand must have reverted, not reverted, but continued the limp stretch in the button. Michael raised it up with ace-7. Next hand, Michael with the button with queen-9. Mustapha with jack-4 suited.
1.1.
And sure enough, we may well see a return to the, you know, button raises standard.
Yeah. Although he's added an extra 100k than when he was playing against Mustapha's shorter stack.
Right. So just over a min. Mustapha takes the lead. Michael with second pair. Looks like there'll be some chips down in this pot.
Yeah, pretty good spot for Michael to check back though on this exact board. Just there's loads of stuff going on and your hand is, you know, it's mediocre. So you definitely, you know, this board kind of encourages you to check back quite a lot. And imagine Mustapha will go for a value bet here. His hand's not good enough to check raise. And, you know, but it's definitely good enough to bet for value.
Right. And of course, he doesn't want to check and allow another diamond to come up for free, right?
Yeah, exactly. You don't really want your opponent to check back a lot. And as we were saying earlier, Michael's turn betting frequency seems a little low to me. Just, obviously
yeah.
small sample size, but
As you were alluding to earlier.
6-5.
So, 6 million in the pot going to the river.
Michael obviously has no decision on the turn. And another diamond. But
Mustapha
2 pair from
improves
Mustapha.
to
I imagine
2 pair.
he'll just check and just close his eyes and calls.
Check.
And call if
I'll make it
Michael
Michael.
were to bet. But I don't think Michael will bet.
Right.
Um,
Because Mustapha's going to check call with so many diamonds, and he has showdown value, right, with his 9.
Yeah, the 9's one of his... I mean, he's not checking back the flop with a jack, very frequently at all. So in terms of 1 pair hands, this is like close to the top.
Well, he is reaching for chips. Is this I might be ahead, I might be behind, but I can definitely make some better hands fold move?
Yeah, pretty much.
4 million.
Ah, Mustapha folds, okay.
It does.
He,
It's a big bet.
that is a big
6
bet.
million. Michael showing no signs of slowing down. Here we go then, Mustapha, ace-9 suited on the button. Michael, pair of 4s in the big blind. As you saw in the last
18
graphic there,
million,
you're now playing 36 bigs effective.
All in.
6 all.
Okay,
Wow.
interesting.
Mustapha limped, Michael all in.
And this is what I was saying earlier, that a lot of players just have a massive amount of 2s, 3s and 4s when they go for the big all-ins.
Right. I mean, is Mustapha looking at this thinking, there aren't really any hands that are going to dominate me? Does he expect to be jammed on by ace-10 plus? And
Ace-10 and ace-jack off specifically might be in this range.
This is a real decision.
Yeah, this is a very tough spot.
And he has called.
He's gone for it.
So, for the second time, we are all in a flip for the title. Michael, with the chip lead, will win if his pocket fours can defeat the ace-9. If not, Mustapha will take a commanding chip lead for the first time in this heads-up play. So, it will be the pocket fours of Michael, looking for his first Supr High Roller title. Mustapha looking for probably about his 20th. To the flop. Queen 5-7, 1 spade. Michael feeling pretty snug. Mustapha needs an ace or 9, running spades or running 6-8. Suppose there are some 2-pair counterfeit options.
Yeah, 5-7. That'd be pretty gross.
Mustapha not looking quite as happy as the last time. Turn 10 of diamonds, changes nothing. Mustapha will need to hit an ace or 9, or Michael Zhang will be our Supr High Roller Champion.
Well, he actually loses 2 outs for the because Michael has the diamond.
You're quite correct. He can no longer hit the ace or 9 of diamonds.
So, drawing thin here.
Just the 4 outs. 91% for the title. Here's the river. The Queen of Spades, Michael Zhang, is our winner of the 50k Supr High Roller here in Rozvadov. Second place, Mustapha Kanit. A valiant effort.
Good game.
It was a fantastic game, fantastic match. We saw some pretty fun poker.
Yeah.
Michael's 3-bet with ace-8 on the 7-5 deuce flop, probably the highlight for me.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, for sure.
So
He deserved it after that, I think.
Michael looking pretty happy, like a man who's just won 800,000 euros, as he should be. There is Mustapha in second place, Felipe Ramos, obviously his good friend, who he knocked out in 4th place. Michael Zhang, winner, 800,000 euros. Mustapha Kanit, second for 500. Timothy Adams came 3rd, Tobias Siegler 4th, Felipe Ramos 5th, Dietrich Faust 6th, and Patrick Antonius, the man himself, was our bubble boy.
Enjoyed every bit of it. I mean, I come to play these tournaments for the thrill of it, and what better than the 50k? I mean, tough opponents. I just enjoyed every aspect of it. And I had a short stack for basically most of the time. I had a few key hands and had a key double up with a flipped with Tobias, and then after that had a few tough decisions with Timothy. Jammed 2 times the pot on me, 3-handed. I made the call because I had basically the best hand I had, and yeah, from there had heads up, which I absolutely love, and everything kind of went fairly smoothly, I would say, given I had a short stack. I mean, I think I've doubled my total cashes, and it's by far the biggest, it's the second biggest tournament I've ever played. I've only played a few high rollers, and I mean, to win it, which one of my first ones feels incredible.
Congratulations to Michael then, the biggest win of his career to date. You get the impression there's plenty more to come from him. Plenty more to come from Rozvadov, that's for sure. Following the Supr High Roller event, we have the main event where the winner is set to take home a cool €1 million. Keep them peeled for more action from the King's Casino Rozvadov, and we will see you next time.